Hey everybody, it's Travis from the Berm Show. There's a brand new app called Lower 22 Vets for veterans and active duty military members. This app combats suicide amongst veterans by bringing veterans together. So please go check it out. Sign up is free and it's easy, and there's monthly giveaways. You can find the app on Google Play and Apple Store. So sign up now.
It will rock your world, and I think it's going to open a lot of eyes about the VA, man. It's
I
called
th-
Breaking.
yeah, I
It's
saw
ba-
the trailer for that movie.
it's based on a true story of this Marine in 2017. Literally went to Wells Fargo so he can get the media involved. Is what his goal was. You know, um, I mean, spoiler alert: the ending is powerful, dude. Like literally, I bawled like two, three times in that movie, man. The one part that got me was when he had a little girl and he was talking to her, and he said, "Baby, I want you to pray for me." Dude, that really was powerful right there. That alone, because she's probably like 6 or 7,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an awesome movie, man. I mean, that movie is a legit Academy Award movie that could go up for some awards, man.
Yeah,
If they were to
I saw
put
that you
something.
posted it yesterday on your guys' Instagram. I saw that, and I was trying to remember what movie that was, but yeah, I'd seen the trailer, and I thought the same thing. Like, and I saw the end of the trailer said it's a true story. I was like, holy cow! And they kind of show a little bit of the phone call on the trailer and stuff like that. And
And then the negotiators are Marine as well,
oh,
so the negotiators trying to hook him up too, man. And it goes back to that, veteran to veteran type deal where you can communicate and talk each other's language and stuff like that. And you noticed it, the effect that negotiator had with that Marine,
hmm
because as soon as he told them, hey, I'm a Semper Fi, this and that and stuff, and then the guy that the movie's based on, like, oh, you're one of them Hollywood Marines, and that's the part that got us all laughing and stuff. So, you laugh a little, you cry a little, better yet, you cry a lot, and it really, like, some of, like, the civilians that were in that movie didn't get why this older gentleman kept commentating about, he's gonna kill himself, he's gonna kill himself. I feel it,
hmm
like, and he's a veteran, so you knew something was coming, but you didn't know. You thought it was the sniper that was going to take him out, because
hmm
he was holding these two bank employees as hostages, you know so
the crazy thing is that's kind of like it's still relevant to today. Like you're saying, I've seen quite a few stories pop up with like the VA and veterans lately, like abusing them. I'm not sure if you've seen that video that's kind of circling right now. I think it's like in Atlanta or Georgia or somewhere in that area where
dude,
that.
before COVID they had enacted the Mission Act, so the VA was actually doing better with scheduling appointments within 30 days,
hmm
2 weeks, 3 weeks and stuff. Since COVID, they shut down. They pretty much use COVID as an excuse on, let's just do telehealth and all this other BS and stuff like that. Well, right now, man, trying to get an appointment at the VA, you're looking at 35 to 45 days minimum, if not longer,
hmm
and literally you have to go to the ER to get taken care of right now.
And
If you, if
I mean, I just saw a story today where somebody, like a VA, somebody that works for the VA, like attacked somebody in the parking lot or something. A veteran in the parking lot, like started,
dude, dude,
started
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
and that well,
Because
it's sad that that happens at all. Like,
and that's the thing, man. Like, people don't understand, and the worst thing about it, some of these VA workers are veterans themselves,
mhm,
And for them not to take care of their fellow brothers and not have compassion for them and treat them like, just anybody is BS, you know? Because what I found out, what really drives me nuts is how the fuck do you have a union at the VA? You know, those guys at the top of the VA at these some of these facilities, they're making CEO money, dude. They're making 150, 200, 250,000 a year, and they're
Yeah.
bonusing out. You know, why the fuck are they bonusing out? It's their job to take care of these veterans. Like, how's it a bonus? Having these veterans commit suicide and dying and stuff. How is that? How do you can you sleep at night getting a bonus because, oh well, we saved the VA this amount of money? No, motherfucker. That's why they give you the money so you could take care of them, not to save or all this other bullshit. That's not what that money's for. It's to take care of the veteran, not for you to bonus out. And that drives me nuts, dude. You
No, I
know,
think it's become more,
it's
yeah, definitely.
disgusting.
It's become more corporate, more business than actual a service from, everybody that I know that's dealt with the VA to any type of level, even if it's just for a small checkup, they all say the same thing. It's very bad experiences. And it's kind of, I think, to what you're saying, is that it's all checks and balances now, or for them versus, hey, you got this steg
And I
this
under- and I,
that's
and
too
I
bad.
understand they have a budget and this and that, but
Mhm,
guess what? They have the second largest budget besides the DoD.
mhm.
That's a lot of money, dude. You know, and now that they just passed this last act. What was it? Pact Act or whatever and stuff for the burn pits and all that stuff. So literally, you have what 7-8 million veterans right now, and now you open up that with 23 other designations that you can apply for. Literally, you're gonna almost double what you have now. What's the impact gonna happen there?
Mhm.
They ain't ready for that. Are they gonna, instead of sending money fucking Ukraine and all these other places, leave that money here and take care of the guys that already did the dirty work for you and stuff like that. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
It's
that's been one
crazy.
of my arguments too. That especially living in California, I mean, you see how bad it is here with like homeless and all these encampments, but yet we can send was it $33 trillion overseas,
Billions of dollars, dude. Billions.
and it's
Not
money
millions,
that
billions.
could be spent here, like you're saying. We got all these veterans. It's everybody knows at this point. I think, or most people know, that 22 veterans a day is kind of what we're looking at as a suicide rate. But then there's also the homeless rate for veterans that's going up through the roof. I mean, there's so many different things that are happening, and nobody seems to like fully tackle it when it comes for the government's perspective. It's like
Oh, dude. Tell me
throw a
tell me
band-aid,
this.
throw a
Tell me
band-aid on.
this. Tell me this. That inflation fucking bill or whatever that bullshit is, right? A lot of it's pork belly fucking bullshit that's going in back into politicians' pockets, number one.
Mhm.
You know? So you mean to tell me out of all them billions of dollars that you're passing and stuff like that, you know, like the first thing you should be taking care of is education, healthcare, veterans. That's it. Top three. If you got money left over, then you send that bullshit over to Ukraine or wherever the hell. We have no business in Ukraine. We have no business in Ukraine. You know, we're supposed to police everybody. We're supposed to you know, because some of these politicians have their hands across the pond and stuff, and they have their special interests over there and stuff like that. Like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Mhm.
You mean to tell me Latin America can cross the border, get free health care, get housing and refugees, and yet a veteran's homeless? What the fuck is wrong with that picture, dude?
Mhm.
What is wrong with that picture?
And I think the sad part is too for veterans. I've talked about this a number of times when I got out. The transition process is just so horrible. So I mean, you're already starting behind the eight ball when you get out, because the transition to the civilian world when you're leaving the military is not that great. There's no like I remember my taps, and like I've said before, it was more like a trying to recruit me to do reserves rather than prepare me for, hey, this is how you need to apply to colleges. This is what you need to do to apply for jobs. And then you get out there and you're kind of trying to figure things out all on your own. I think that's how you get those homeless veterans or those veterans that, I mean,
Check.
it's easier to go down a bad path or down the wrong hole when you don't really know where to go.
So tell me this, dude. I was with other veterans. I was telling you about that meeting I had yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them brought it up. And tell me if this isn't something basic and simple that when you get out, it should be mandatory. Okay. When you get out, the first thing, fuck taps and all that bullshit, right? Don't, the first thing you do is you have the VA there for enrollment, right? So they're going to enroll you in the VA, number one. And guess what? They're going to have a disability. They're going to look over your medical records, and they're going to automatically, they should give you at least 50% automatically, whether
Mm-hmm.
you rate it or not, right? That way you have some kind of money coming in until you find a job, right? How hard would it be for them guys to do that before you get out? Tell me that. And it's basic, simple shit, dude. It's
It
not like
is.
you got to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. All you got to do is put some of the guys that the S1, the admins, and stuff like that. You get some of the VA employees or even get some of the VSOs come out and help with something like that. Because they're gonna first thing they're gonna do is they have a disability claims person that that's what they do, right? So they say every Friday they show up and they're gonna look over your medical records, and that way the guys that rate a disability rating will actually get it, and the guys that are working the system
Mm-hmm.
and getting 100% when they didn't never even deployed, right? They
Yeah.
never saw combat, but they're getting 100%, right?
Yeah.
Automatically, if you do at least 2 deployments in combat zone, automatically you should be 100%. Automatically,
I think
you
that's
know.
fair. I mean, like I only did one deployment in the Navy, and I can tell you right now, my hearing is jacked up because of working on the flight deck. Like
And
it's
it's only going to get worse as you get older, man.
yeah,
That's the thing.
and
How old are you?
I was one of those veterans. I never got any disability because I always felt like I was fine, and I had this mindset. It's like the military doesn't owe me anything because it's just I got free college. I felt really
We
good.
we all do because we're young. That's the thing. How old are you?
33 now. So that
Okay.
was I got
And you
out
got out at what age?
22, I think. I think I was
Okay.
22 when I got out.
So 22 to 33 is 11 years, man. Wait until 20 years when you're my age, and you literally have to look at people to know that they're talking to you, because I
Mhm.
can't hear for shit either.
Yeah,
And I was a
it's
cook. So I was in the mess halls, I was on ship, and all that loud noise and stuff like that, believe it or not, it I still hear ringing sometimes, you
yeah,
know.
mine got progressively worse. Like my wife will definitely tell you I can't hear worth shit. I mean, on my right ear is definitely my worst one for some reason. Like
And
that
I
one.
bet you that's the side that you shot from, correct?
No, I worked on the flight deck, so I was just, I mean, the jets and everything shooting off. And you had the cranials on. Like everybody sees the videos of people on the flight deck. You got the headgear on, but most of the time there's nothing in those little earpieces. It's
Oh, of
just a piece of
course.
plastic covering your ear, and maybe some padding around it if you're lucky. But there's supposed to be like a styrofoam in there, and you're
It's
lucky if you.
supposed to be soundproof.
Oh yeah, and it's not.
Yeah,
Definitely not. And
yeah.
I mean, if I were to go back in time, I hate doing revisionist stuff, but if I were to, I would definitely push that with the VA. I would have gone there and been like, hey, you know, this is what happened or this is what's going on. And kind of like what you're saying, I think the transition part of it, like you were mentioning, and having that maybe like that final health screening with the VA there so you can get those disabilities, that would be perfect because most veterans, like we were talking about, how many veterans actually do go to the VA? Because like myself,
How
I was
many?
young and I felt good. It's like I don't really need anything.
That's the thing. What about the guys that come out and aren't struggling, right? So
Hmm.
they go and they work at State Farm, they work at John Deere, they work at T-Mobile. All they get good jobs coming out and stuff, right? But the thing is, fast forward 15, 20 years down the road, and the stuff that they didn't worry about because they were young, now it's starting to creep up on them.
Yeah.
They never enrolled in the VA, and now they have to enroll in the VA to even put in a claim, you know. And that's the thing. Like, how many guys actually know that when you get out, take your DD 214 to the county recorder and put it in files. So if you ever lose your DD 214, guess what? You can go get your DD. Nobody told you that when you got out,
I've
correct?
never heard that before. So that, I mean, it's the first
Exactly.
time I've even heard it.
Exactly. Now, doesn't that make sense? So, you don't have to wait 3 months, 6 months to order it from Kansas City or wherever you're supposed to order it from. All you got to do is go to your county court recorder. Hey, I need to get a copy of my DD 214.
See, that's
Scan it, put it in your email, whatever you got to do. But the best thing to do is put it in your recorder, take it down to county and record it there. So yourself, your wife, your kids later on down the road, if they need to pull up a DD 214, guess what? They got access to it.
that's important information. That's something I've never heard about before, and it makes complete sense. I mean, I made like 30 copies for myself, but I mean, that's that's something they should tell you when you're
Yeah,
transitioning.
God forbid your house burns down, right? Where else do you have your DD 214s?
Yep. That's
You know,
exactly that's a, if it that's if you're I'm sure most veterans are kind of like in my situation where if you do have copies or even just your original, it's at your house. I've thought about stuff
or
before too. Like if something were to happen, man, like I'd have to order that. I've thought about that actually before, just because we live.
or say even your water heater goes out and you got water everywhere and you get
Mhm.
water damage, or there's a hole in the roof and water comes in and ruins all your paperwork and stuff like that. If you don't have it inside a safe or something,
Mhm.
you know, now you're like, oh crap, how
Well,
long is it going?
that's kind of the crappy part. Like I was saying though, when you transition, it's I'm not sure if it was like this for most people when they got out of the military, but it really felt like they're trying to get you to stay in to some degree, like being in the reserves or something like that. Mine, from what I remember, it was like I was in the recruiter's office all over again, but I've already lived it, so I was like, oh god, dude, you're not selling me on something I've been in for 4 years. Like I know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of sad because I'm not sure if it was just the way it was for me when I got out, and I'm sure there's other folks that have gone through that same experience and felt the same way. It's like, man, they're not even preparing me for anything, or you think it's BS. It's that final week. You're like, whatever, and then you get out and you wake up that first day as a civilian. And you're like, holy crap, I don't know anything. Like I haven't been prepared for.
You would figure at least you get an exit interview, so they're like, what do you plan on doing when you get out?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have a clue, guess what? Go to your local community college.
Yeah.
Let them know you're a veteran. See if they have a veteran center at that community college. Because probably, if not 80 to 90% of community colleges, universities now have veteran centers. So they got veterans going to. So like ASU right across the street, they got Tillman Center, but they also have Upward Bound, and those guys actually, even if you say you like yourself, you want to go back to school because you've been out military 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and now you're like, you know what, actually I want to go back to school, I want to get my degree just to get it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll prep you up for that. They'll help you with FASFA, they'll help you with all all the stuff you need to do to enroll, but they also help with tutoring. They also help with all kinds of stuff, that to help you be successful in the transition into college, to get your degree. Because once you get your degree, that's going to open up a whole lot of doors.
Yeah.
I never used to think like that, but I got two kids. Well, my two older kids are 31 and 33. Well, 34 and 31. My daughter will be 32 in a couple months. My daughter, she's amazing, man. She got pregnant at 16, bought her first house at 18. Now her and her husband right now, they own like five houses and two apartment complexes. You know, she makes six figures. My oldest son makes six figures, and he lives out in Lakeside, California. You know, but they both got bachelors. And my daughter has not one but two masters.
Holy crap! So she's
You know,
killing it. Yeah.
yeah. So like and she knows the importance of having a degree. I never used to think like that, but because of them and what the opportunities and all that stuff, where the jobs that they're working in, I'm like, I should have done this 30 years ago, man.
Mm-hmm.
But because I thought I knew it all. I knew I could take care of myself. And trust me, I've been through every situation a veteran's gone through. Every situation, alcoholism, drug addiction, homelessness twice, suicide attempt once, you know, um, divorce, you know, I mean, you name it, dude. You
Mm-hmm.
name it. I've been there, done that. So when some of these veterans try to like bullshit a bullshitter, guess what? Guess what, buddy? I've already walked in your shoes. You can't. No, man. Because I could have easily pulled the trigger 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times already.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's still up to us to make the decision. When you're rock bottom, guess what? There's nowhere else to go but 6 feet under. So guess what? Look at the bright side. You're still above ground, and all you have to worry about is going up. That's it. Because the day I tried to commit suicide, I had lost my computer repair shop. My girlfriend had left me. My car had just been totaled sitting out in front of my apartment. Like everything snowballed at once. So literally, I'm like, you know what, man? I'm tired. I'm tired of this stuff. I've already been through all the peaks and valleys and all that. So I'm like, I'm done. So literally, I went to South Mountain with a 45. 2 seconds away from pulling the trigger, my daughter calls me.
Holy cow!
She's like, Dad, do you want to hear some good news? I said, baby, any news is good news right now. And that's the day I found my why and my purpose. You know, she's like, Dad, you're going to have a grandson. I already have a granddaughter. But when she said I was going to have a grandson, literally that hit me like a ton of bricks, man. Like, that was the fire. That was the motivation I needed. Because the first thing I thought was, if I pull this trigger, what's the legacy I'm going to leave for my grandson?
Mm-hmm.
So I told my daughter, I said, you know what, baby, I got another phone call coming in. Let me call you back. So I hung up the phone. Literally, dude, I bawled for like 35, 45 minutes, right? And I'm like, I can't do that to my grandson, you know? And on the way down is why is how I found my why and my purpose. My why is to leave a legacy for my grandson. My purpose is to keep other veterans from trying to do what I just tried doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 8 years ago. And that's and every day when I get up every morning, all I got to do is look at that picture of my grandson that I have hanging up next, literally sit next to my bed, and know that, you know what, as long as I do what I need to do, help whoever I got to help today, even if it's just one person, I know I've done my job for the day, you know. And I've owned restaurants before, and I've made a lot of money, but I'm more happy now and humbled now running my nonprofit than when I was making a grip of money running 6 restaurants, owning 6 restaurants. Because back then it was about all about making money.
Mm-hmm.
But I was an asshole back then because I had money. I didn't care. I didn't care who I had to step on. I didn't care what. I should have been spending more time with my family. But I was so worried about every penny hitting the register. I was worried about the employees robbing me and stuff like that. But if anything, the only thing that got robbed was my 2 older kids, me spending more time with them. So when my youngest son came around 13 years later, 14 years later, you know, they literally threw it in my face as like, you spend way more time than you ever did with us. I said, yeah, but did you guys ever go without? You know, did you guys ever struggle? Like, how many times did I take you and your friends to Padre or Charger games, or pay for you guys' trip to go do cheer squad or any of that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so now I look back now and I'm like, yeah, I could have spent more time with them and stuff like that. But at the same time, there's a reason why I had to go through that phase in life, is to be grateful for, what, I don't want to be that type of person anymore. Because I know if I saw myself walking up to me right now, dude, I would turn around and run and get away from that person, because literally I was an asshole. I was a straight up asshole just because I had money,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's one of those things too. Like I have a young family. I was always kind of the same way. I would never make crazy amounts of money, but when I got out of the military, I was really hard pressed on like I got to get a great job. I got to start making money. You get wrapped up in that really easy, and then once I started having kids, and my dad's kind of like how you were saying. My dad was kind of like yourself, always working, so I never really. He was there. I mean, we never went without, but I felt like he was always missing everything. So when I started having kids and stuff, it hit me too, kind of like that. I had that moment where I'm like, well, you know, I could work from 6 to 6 every single day, 6 to 8, but what's the point? I'm missing out on the stuff that my dad missed out on, and I don't want to be like that also. And and it's hard to balance that, but I think as I've gotten older, especially when my daughter was born a year ago, it like the essence of time and having time is more important to me than any amount of money. And I think when I reflect on something like even the military, serving for 4 years, being gone on deployment, it's like, man, I've already done that where I've missed out on everything. I've missed birthdays. All of a sudden I see my parents got old. It's like, what the hell? My little sister's not a little kid anymore. She's a young adult. Now she's same thing with my brother, my niece, everybody's older, and time continues. So it's like, what's the point of grinding? I mean, it's not to say you can't grind. Grinding is definitely important, but to grind so much that you lose sight of what you're grinding for,
Exactly.
I think
See,
is
there's nothing wrong with grinding. The thing is, make time for yourself,
yeah,
you know, because that's just as important as making money,
it is.
if not more. Because the thing is, if, like, I had all that money, but I never made memories. My kids would go to Disneyland with my ex-wife, without me.
Hmm.
They'd go on family trips without me because I thought being at work was more important, and it wasn't. I could have easily took, you know 2, 3, 4, 5 days and go spend time with them and stuff. But so I was so money hungry at the time. Like, that's all I thought is, long as I got money in the bank, my family would be all right. That it wasn't the deal, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I know for myself, especially when I first got out of the military and I missing out on so much, it really hit me. And that was kind of like my struggle too. When I got out mentally, was just, I missed so much. I'm still not home. I was living in San Diego. My family's all in Northern California. So it's like, I'm still not home. So it was a point of getting out. I had all these like mixed emotions going on. And kind of like you're saying though, not making the time, and you're just grinding nonstop, working nonstop. That's where that doesn't help your situation or your depression or whatever you're going through. Sometimes it just masks it or makes it even worse, because now everything that you're missing, you're hating yourself for it, but then you're still hurting yourself because you're not making the time, like you were saying. Um, and it gets really dark when you do stuff like that, when you get down that path. I know it
You
did
know,
for me.
and that's the thing. Like, if you're single, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you have family, that's a whole different monster right there. Like, you gotta balance it where, you have to make time for your family, man, because, if thank God I I realized I needed to spend some more time with them, and I got to make a few memories. But if I would have just kept doing what I was doing and stuff like that, and missed out on everything, I know I would regret that right now.
Hmm.
And I know I know my kids would regret me right now too. But you know what? My daughter, you would think she's my mom. Like, she checks up on me. Like, now my two boys, that's a whole different ball game, man. Like, that's dad. He's good to go and this and that. And that's a guy thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I do the same thing with my mom. Like, as long as I know that, because I talk to my sisters and my brother more than anything, more than my mom. But I'll call her once a month just so she knows that I'm thinking of her and stuff like that. Even though I'm so to her, I'm supposed to be calling every Sunday instead of just once a month and stuff. So I mean, and that's just as important, man, because time doesn't stop for nobody, man. Because, like, my nieces and nephews, I used to drag around, God, 16, 18 nieces and nephews to, Padre games and Charger games at Qualcomm Stadium, and you know, and not one time did I ever lose one, thank God. you know. But you know, them growing up, and now, like, two of my nephews, they joined the military because of me. Because when I met them, I was in the Marine Corps still. So one of them's an Army vet. He's a firefighter, EMS, out in Humboldt, Texas, just outside Houston. And then my other nephew, he's an Air Force vet, and he lives out in Cali, up in I want to say he's in Northern Cal, but I know his parents live in like Rancho Cucamonga area, and
Oh yeah,
Corona
that's
area.
yeah, it's kind of down here by where I'm at. That's not too far.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so but I mean, now I see my nieces, nephews, and now even my kids, they're in their 30s. I'm like, how did they get to be 33, 34, and 31, 32? Like, wow. And then my baby, my youngest son, he just graduated high school. He's 18. Like, he's not my little boy no more, man. And it sucks because it's like, and that's one thing I was depressed a few weeks ago about, was if it started kicking in and let me know that, you know what, dude, you're not a young dude no more, man. Like, you're getting old. And I don't mean like old as in, 90 years old, but I mean, your kids are grown. They're like adults,
Yeah.
so it's like, wow, man, the time flew like you wouldn't believe. It's crazy. And that's why I try to tell a lot of these vets. And that's one thing with my organization is, we're very, very family orientated. So, like, when we go to the D-backs game, we go to baseball games, football games, basketball games, Fiesta Bowl, cookout stuff. It's not about just the veteran. It's about bringing out the whole family, man, because you're making memories with them. And later on down the road, your kids are going to be like, you know what, Dad? I remember when you took us to Monster Jam, and because we go to Monster Jam, and a lot of these guys, I want them to go and spend time with their kids, because that's one thing I didn't do for my two older ones. You know, Now my youngest son, we've done so much together and stuff like that. That's different. But my two older ones, I still feel guilty for not, taking them to Disneyland and doing this and doing that and stuff like that. So, I mean, to me, it's kind of like my nonprofit's kind of like, these veterans are my kids. I got to keep an eye on them. I got to take care of them.
Family is extremely important. I mean, it's funny because I've like there's been moments recently even where I could think about where I've had like those lapses where I almost went back to being depressed, where you have those. I'm not sure if you still have that occasionally, like Oh, I'm transitioning jobs, and there's all this stress, and I kind of, yeah, I bought a bottle of whiskey, and I was like, man, I stayed up one night, and I drank like two full glasses, and then the next day I poured the rest of it out. I was like, what the hell am I doing? It's easy. That's a dangerous path to go down. But then I thought, I got two kids to be grateful for. I got, beautiful wife, beautiful family. We're doing great things.
And so, and that's the thing. Sometimes we take it for granted, dude, that they're always going to be there,
Mm-hmm,
and you know, that's the one thing I know I regret is like I know if I wouldn't have been drinking, I know if I wouldn't have been using drugs, I know I'd still probably be married, man. You
mm-hmm.
know, um, shit, I'd probably be married like 34 years right now, but been together 36. You know, that's a long freaking time, dude. And but I can't blame her, dude. Sometimes you get tired of somebody that doesn't want to change, and
Mm-hmm.
and it goes back to choices. You know, we all make choices, good or bad. You know, and that's the thing. Sometimes we go through rough patches for a reason, and it's to make us that much stronger. You know, and a lot of people look at it as oh, it's the end of the world, this and that, and it's a struggle, and it is a struggle. But
Mm-hmm.
also at the same time, there's a reason why you're going through it is to make you a better person, number one. And number two is to humble you and make you realize that how blessed you are with what you have. And a lot of us take it for granted, and I'll be the first one to admit I took it for granted for such a long time that by the time I realized it, it was too late, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've had those kind of moments the last couple of years where I've taken for granted how far, like, my wife and I have come. Because I met her when I was still in the Navy. I just came back from deployment. She was going to college, so like my last 2 years in, we were together, and then my ship got stationed up in Washington. So my last year, we were in two different states. But when I got out, I mean, that's where I flew to. I flew back to San Diego. She picked me up. We lived in a studio apartment, super broke, I mean, living at roaches and all kinds of crap, sleeping on an air mattress. She had a part-time job. I didn't even have a job. But, I think when I look back, and I'm grateful for where we are now, where we have a house, we have all these things. It's like, man, we're like a war toughened family. Like, we've gone through all these struggles together. And there's times where I've even taken, I'm sure everybody goes through this, where I've taken my own wife for granted. I'm like, man, this is like not where I expected my life to be and stuff. But then it's like, look, know what? Her and I have tackled so much together. Why am I complaining? Like, I'm grateful that I have a partner that is stronger than any person I've ever met, and she's ready to go whenever. So, it's like, no, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. Because those times when I got out, if I didn't have anybody, if I didn't have her, when I got out, I'm sure my life would be vastly different than what it is now. So it's, yeah, you gotta be grateful. It's.
And that's so true, man, because a lot of us, and sometimes it comes from culture too.
Mhm,
Being Marine, Hispanic, Latino, the machismo and all that kind of stuff. It's like it doesn't matter what she thinks and this and that, and it does though, dude. And a
mhm,
lot of times your wife is way more stronger, way more headstrong than you will ever be, even as a 52-year-old Marine,
mhm.
or a 52-year-old veteran that's seen some shit. You know, the wives are like, I have to be honest, they're fucking superheroes, dude.
Oh yeah,
Like, you think you're a badass Navy, you think you're badass Army or Marine and stuff. You ain't shit if you have a wife.
that's
She will put you in check real quick, dude.
it's so
And
true. I mean,
especially if you have a great, great wife, dude. And that's the one thing veterans need to understand is like you need to be thankful that if you have a wife that she was willing to go through all the bullshit that you guys have gone through, and she's still there, dude. you don't have a wife, you have a saint. You
That's
know,
that's
because there's a
exactly
lot of
it.
women nowadays, they won't put up with that shit. They're fucking out the door the first chance they get, because they're like, this ain't my fucking deal. This ain't my mess. This is your mess, dude. Like, you need to fix it. You need to clean that shit up, man. And a lot of times, like, oh, hey, I'm, badass veteran, this and that, and stuff like that. But time goes by, and sometimes it might take a year, sometimes it'll take 20 years, and then you realize, you know what? I had a fucking badass wife that I took for granted, and she's gone.
Yeah. Like
You know.
I mean, I've told my wife this before. I was like, because she's seen me through every low I've ever had. I mean, through drinking a whole lot. Um, I mean, I almost flunked out of college my first semester. I just said F. I said fuck school. I never went to school. It was community college in San Diego. I signed up and I was like, I hated everybody. I was like, fuck all these people. I was like, God, everybody's just bitching in this classroom about how hard their lives are. Like, I'm over it. I'd stay in our freaking apartment or studio and sit there on an air mattress. I wouldn't do anything sometimes. I would just sit there or lay there and just wallow, just sit there and just bask in my freaking issues. And she went through all that with me and she pushed me to go back, like really get my shit together when it came to school. You know, even when I didn't see I guess the big picture, like I've told her before, you've always saw it. And I'm like, man, and the fact that you saw it and you saw me there, even with all the bullshit that I was putting you through, it is amazing. I mean, because it's not easy. I'm sure there's times where she's like, "What the fuck am I doing with this guy? Like,
Yep.
this is ridiculous. Like, he's
And you'd be
for past
surprised how many times she thinks that too. You know, like, let's be honest, man,
yeah.
because some women, they're blessed. They got great husbands. They got husbands with a great job, great. They have money and this and that, and literally they can. But sometimes it's not just about that.
Hmm.
It's about, they're looking for the compassion, the companionship and stuff like that is way more important than just having money, because there's a lot of guys out there with money, and I'll be the first one to admit, when I did have I was an asshole. And that's a lot of guys with money. They're assholes because they know they can get any woman they want because they got money,
Hmm.
you know? And that's why some women, they rather be with a regular person than with somebody that has money, even though a lot of women say, "Oh man, I'll take a guy with money." And I said, yeah, you will. You'll take him that has money, but then 3, 6, 9 months down the road, you'll be like, "Fuck this guy, I'm out." It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much money he has. He's an asshole, you know. So
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, that's where I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I mean, I've had very. It took me a long time to get to the point where I can look and be grateful for what I have. My wife and I even had the discussion a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. But because daycare, all that stuff, you calculate all the money that we have to spend versus what's coming in. And I've told her before, like, who cares, man? You know what? All this stuff that we have is just stuff, Like, look what we have, though. We got 2 kids, are freaking awesome. Who cares? Like, it'll all take care of itself. Like, I've never been so confident ever in my life as I have been in my 30s, and I'm new into my 30s. I mean, 33 years old now, but it's like, man, this next decade is probably the most confident I've felt ever in my life, just because I know, hey,
and
we've
and
gone through
watch
everything.
and watch how things drastically will change for the good, just
Hmm.
because you realize that, just because and this is what I try to tell veterans that are struggling in this, that I said, don't look at this. Don't look at this little box right here.
Yeah.
Look at this box right here. Look at the big picture. And a lot of times when I sit down and talk to some of these veterans, my thing is, and this is me in general, you know, where do you see yourself 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? Where do you see yourself 3 to 5 to 10 years down the road? Like, do you plan on being doing the same dumb shit that you're doing now?
Hmm.
Because if you are, then you might as well just forget about it, because you need to grow. You need to, find your why, find your purpose. And sometimes it'll take a year, sometimes it'll take 10, 20, 30 years. But
Yeah.
Grow, man. Understand that, life is going to go by like this. And I mean like this, you know? And, if you don't get your shit together, you know, you're going to regret it later on down the road. You know, I'm one of the guys that can honestly say that even though I've been through a lot of shit and I've seen a lot of shit, I am glad where I'm at now just because I can talk to somebody that's struggling right now and tell them, look, this is what you can do. Now, it's up to you to, it starts right here.
Yeah.
You know, you got to change your outlook. You got to change. And I'm not talking about being, you know, happy go lucky, fucking positive dude every day, this and that. I'm talking about, what is my plan for tomorrow? What's my plan for the next 6 months, 3 months? Where do I see myself within this company that I'm working at? Do I see growth? Is there growth in this company? Because if there's not, you know, my thing is let's let's help you, you know, get that diploma that you need to either move up within the company or go somewhere else and get paid, so you can grow and become who you need to become and stuff like that, because a lot of guys they get complacent and they'll work at the same company for 15, 20, 30 years, hate their life, and regret that you know they never made the choice to grow.
Hmm.
And as a human being, that's one thing in life that we have to do is we have to grow. Besides getting old, guess what? We need to get wise, and but we also need to grow. We need to learn from our mistakes and move forward, like don't let one or two or three or five or 10 negative things happen to you and think, oh, this is going to happen the rest of my life. You have that mentality that you're the victim, because a lot
Yeah.
of times that's what happens with a lot of these guys that are depressed and suicidal and stuff. It's like they're so used to the negative that they don't see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And it gets rough. It gets hard. Trust me, I know, you know, especially when it came, to that point where, you know, when is shit gonna change? But it all started with the mentality and looking at it in a different view and like, I need to do this to get to this,
Hmm.
you know. How am I gonna, grow in this and that? Like, well, let me start by helping one veteran. Next thing you know, it's two. Next thing you know, it's 1,500. Next thing you know, it's 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, so on. You know, and there's a lot of veterans, and it cracks me up when like if you ask any of the guys that I've helped out in the past, and that that makes me like to me I feel like that is worth more than any amount of money they could I could ever get for helping out another human being, much more a veteran. Because the other day we were at a veteran function, and this female veteran came up to me and she gave me a hug, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? I don't even know who this is, right? Like, what the fuck? Dude, I gave her a bike right before COVID. I donated a bike to her, right? She had that bike for probably 3 or 4 months and then gave it back to me and went and got a nice bike, like three, four, $5,000 bike.
Oh crap.
Okay. Fast forward till a week or two, a couple weeks ago, when I see her, the first thing out of her mouth is, "You don't even recognize me, do you?" And I'm like, no, who the hell are you? Who are you? She goes, I'm Dawn. And to myself, I'm thinking, who the fuck is Dawn? Like I know 52 million Dons and stuff. And she's like, remember you gave me a bike? And I'm like, dude, that was like 2 years ago. She goes, bro, you saved my life. I said, what? She goes, I've lost 120 pounds. And then
Mm.
it hit me, and I'm like, damn, you were. She was heavy set, you know, and
Yeah.
literally, she would we would send messages on Messenger, and she would tell me stuff that oh, I feel depressed, this and that, but you know what? Because she started riding a bike, and it happened to me too. You know, the endorphins kick in all of a sudden now. That depression disappears, that anxiety disappears, and now it's like, and I have to let me throw out a name. This army vet named James Aker. This guy donated a bike to me like what, eight at least 8 years ago, if not 10. And after like the third ride, he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, Ro, what do you think of when you ride your bike?" And I'm like, "Shit, to get to the end. What do you think, man?" He's like, "No, no, no, you're doing it all wrong." I said, "What?" He goes, "You're doing it wrong." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Do you feel the sun on your skin? Do you hear the birds chirping? Do you hear the wind?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I never thought about it that way." And the next time I rode, so like I would ride from literally where Arizona State University is. I live right across the street to the Capitol, which is like 11, 12 miles down. So it's like 22, 24 mile bike ride. And when I started riding bike, I would pray to God. I would talk to my grandma in heaven, my brother in heaven, and you know, and I didn't realize, dude, that's therapy.
Hmm.
You know, that's fucking therapy without even realizing it's therapy, right? So, you know, ever since then, when I get veterans that haven't been on a bicycle in 10, 15, 20, 30 years, dude, to me, it's like it's not it's not like, here's a bike. It's life changing.
Hmm.
I had a veteran, a Marine Corps veteran, hadn't been on a bike since he was 6 years old, 8 years old, right? Dude, this guy, we rode from Tempe to Scottsdale, out to Mesa, and on the way back, and literally we're 2 miles away from where we started. And I look down at my watch and I'm like, oh shit, we done 20 miles. All of a sudden, this motherfucker starts complaining about his back, his knee, all this other shit. I'm like, dude, we rode 20 miles, and all of a sudden now you're gonna everything hurts, your hemorrhoids and all this other shit. I'm like, that's bullshit. He goes, oh man, I said, but I told him, I said, dude, if I wouldn't have said anything and I would have like posted it later on down the road, when I post about on Instagram or Facebook, and I go, you would have probably had a heart attack and died on me, man. And he's like, you're probably right, but the other day when we were at this networking group for Marines and stuff, and I brought up that I told him, hey, tell everybody your 20-mile bike ride and stuff. He goes, fuck this guy. But it's stories like that. It's impact stuff like that impact veterans' life. And
Hmm.
dude, the guy's a motorcyclist. Like he rides Harleys and all that stuff. But the funny thing is, he will ride his bike by himself. He might not ride 20 miles, but he'll ride 5 or 10 miles around his block and this and that. And he'll send me pictures. He's like, bro, like, I can't believe you got me on a fucking bike and stuff. And he goes, and it doesn't even have a fucking motor on it.
He's like, I gotta work. This I gotta actually work when I ride.
But you know what? Hey, man, the little 5, 10 miles that he does and stuff, the dude's lost like 20, 30 pounds, man.
That's awesome.
So I mean, and that's the thing, man. Like when I first started volunteering in the community, the veteran community and stuff, like I didn't know the impact that, one veteran has on another. I didn't know, the barrier that there is communication wise, like being comfortable with another veteran and stuff like that, and you, you'll know this as well as everybody else is, we like to give each other shit,
Oh yeah.
right? But the thing is, I was a cook in the Marine Corps, right? But say you were a cook in the Navy, dude, that automatically connects us because we did the same MOS.
Hmm.
Now, whether it's motor T or cook or admin, whatever and stuff. And you could be Air Force, you could be Army, you could be whatever different branch. But if you did the same MOS, now you guys can connect and you guys can chop it up and this and that. Next thing you know, you got a battle buddy now,
Yep.
right? So you got somebody, and that's my main goal is, when you come out to our events, my thing is for you to connect with another veteran that's there, because now I know, this veteran, you got somebody you can talk to. Hopefully, you guys can become lifelong friends. Because that's what I've noticed is, and that's the whole point of some of our events is, like, there's a lot of standing around, right? So what I do on purpose is I get two, three, four, five of them together and we start chopping it up. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's Army, he's Navy, this and that. Oh yeah, what'd you do in the Army, Chris? What'd you do in the Army, Dave? This and that. And then next thing you know, boom, I got two of them together. Now I can move on to the next group. And so on and so on. And that's how I work. That's how I work the room and stuff. And that's what I think is so important as veterans is the connection, the camaraderie, and stuff like that. And that's what I think that's helped me become so influential in the veteran community here is, I'm not afraid to go out and say, Chris, Tim, whoever, and stuff like that. Like, hey man, I need volunteers, this and that. Well, when we're out volunteering in the community, what else is there to do besides keep quiet?
Yep.
Well, you're going to want to know what the next guy next to you does and stuff, like what branch, what years did you serve, what did, and it's funny, sometimes you'll get guys that were in the same company, the same battalion, and never even crossed paths once. But yet they're at a food bank or they're at Ironman volunteering, or, we're at the D-backs 5K volunteering and stuff. And they're like, holy shit, you were in the same company, you were the same battalion and stuff like that, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Germany, wherever and stuff like that, and it shows you how small a world it is, but at the same time, it shows you you could be, serving at the same time with the guy next to you and not even know it,
Yep.
you know,
Well,
that's crazy.
I think you hit it on the head too. Um, veterans seem to. It seems easier for veterans to talk to another veteran, and it reminds me of what my grandpa had told me. He was in the Navy. He told me this when I was a kid. It was probably in like junior high or high school. He said when you go hunting, he's like he's like it always gets brought up who is in the military, and he's like there's always like one person when you're going hunting that didn't serve, or one or two people. He's like regardless of your branch, when you're out there hunting, you're sitting around the fire, you all start just talking, talking crap about each other and your stories. Um, but it is like a brotherhood or sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, with amongst veterans and military members, where no matter what branch you're in, there's still some similarities, something you can relate to, because it's like we essentially kind of did the same thing at around the same age. Most people join 17, 18, typically. You took that leap of like, holy crap, signing your life away, basically, to
And not
something.
even knowing it, dude,
Not,
you
not
know
really being so naive about it. Like I've talked about with I think my dad, I was like, man, I was 17 years old or 18 years old. I signed a will. Like I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I didn't really know I'm just going to people and be like, oh my God, you didn't know? I was like, I didn't really know what a will was at 18. Never thought about death or anything like that. And then when you get older, you're like, holy
and
crap,
and
like
and,
I did
and
that.
that's what and that's what you got to remember too when it comes to recruiters and stuff like that. You're gullible. You're young. You
Hmm.
don't know nothing about the world. You don't know how the government works. You don't know any of that kind of stuff until after you get out.
Oh yeah.
And you find out, how dirty your government is. You find out how dirty these politicians are and this and that and stuff. And but see, that's the thing. As a veteran, it's not about none of that bullshit. We don't serve to serve our country. We serve to have each other's back. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the most powerful thing is, when you have the fellow man, and that's the one beautiful thing about the military too. There's no color in the military. Like black, white, purple, green, Filipino, Latino, Caucasian, whatever and stuff like that. As long as you got somebody's back, dude, there's no stronger bond
Yeah.
ever.
And that's
Unless you're an asshole, then that's something completely different.
but that's extremely true. And I've told people that before. Like there really is nothing like that, and it's the different walks of life everybody's from too. Like you can't really duplicate it anywhere else. I mean, like my best friend.
Everybody's green, dude. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's green. If
Like
there's
my
a color, it's green. You
Yeah,
know.
you're because I think it's easy. It's the thing that makes it easy too is because you're all in the same shit together, regardless of wherever you're from. Like I've told people, my best friend I was in the Navy with, he's from Louisiana. Like all that son of a bitch is my best friend. There's no other way I've ever known him besides being in the military, and we've did some crazy shit together. And like even like at my wedding, all my groomsmen were guys I served with, all from different parts of the country, different parts of different walks of life. But man,
And
we
ain't that funny though? That you can be from Alabama, Washington, Florida, New York, California, Texas, Arizona, and literally me and you can have the same fucking interests and not even know it.
that's what's crazy.
And I'm telling you, and that's what makes the world so small and stuff. It's like, you don't even realize it, because I mean, even myself, I have a friend of mine that's a 35-year Army vet, command sergeant major. The fucking dude likes the same kind of music I do. Like, I mean, we used to go to like literally almost the same type of clubs, the same, like, wait a minute, you're 6 years older than me, dude. How are we gonna have the same interests and stuff? It's crazy,
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's cool. It's like, you know, and that's the one thing. It's like he's not even Latino. He's a white dude,
yeah,
you know, and we got another guy that he's a black dude. So it's like you got all three races liking the same shit, country, freestyle, football, you name it. We all like it and stuff. And I don't know, man, like when I was growing up, like, we used to play in the backyard. We used to play with the neighborhood kids. And as kids, dude, you're not born racist. You're taught that bullshit. So
yeah,
like we used to play with black kids and white kids and Asians and every time as a kid. But as you get older, and you would figure as an adult you'd be way fucking smarter, but it's like some of these people get stupider as adults,
yeah.
because now they're bigots, they're racist, and this and that, and it's disgusting.
It,
But as veterans, we don't like we don't have that barrier. We don't look at people like that,
yeah,
because a lot of these guys, they have your back when you're out there, you know, whether you're deployed or not. You guys are out doing maneuvers or NATO operation, or you're on Westpac, or whatever and stuff like that, dude. I that's the one thing that drives me nuts in 2022 is we still have this racist mentality that divides America because, black, white, this and that and stuff, man. And it shouldn't be like that.
yeah. You're right. I mean, like on my deployment in the Navy, every port we went to, it was me and my best friend from Louisiana, who's a white dude. You know, he's a country boy, and then our friend Newman, who's a big old black dude from Detroit. Like it was the three of us. Almost every single country we went to was basically the three of us. So we'd sign out together. We're all Liberty buddies or whatever. And kind of like you're saying, never once thought like anything of it, you know, because it's just we kind of like different shit, but we like some of the same shit. We're all looking to just have a good time, and we're all about the same age and stuff. And I don't know, it's kind of like you were saying, it never crossed my mind that like, oh, this dude's from freaking Louisiana and this guy's from Detroit. You know, he's a country boy and he's a freaking black dude from Detroit. Like it never crossed my mind. It's just like, hey, you know, we like hanging out with each other. We like to bullshit and fuck with each other. I don't know how many times in other countries, my friend from Louisiana, he's just a go-getter. So he's like way out in front of us when we're walking. Our friend Newman likes to look at everything. He's behind us. I'm like in the middle. I'm like, where the like, dude, you guys gotta either walk faster or you gotta slow down. Like something needs to happen, you know. And it's so funny because, like you're saying, I think it's sad that's such an issue today. Because I don't know, even like you're saying, when I go to work today, I don't even think about stuff like that. It's, if I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. I don't care how you look, what you do.
That,
I mean,
and that's it, dude. As long as you don't act like an asshole, you're cool.
yeah,
You know, you want to be an asshole? Guess what? I'll be an asshole. You know, that's
yeah, I'm kind of
that's
the
the
same
thing.
way. I could play that game too. You know, it's like if you're going to be an asshole to me, well, shit. Or you're going to treat somebody else like shit. I can do the same thing
Oh
back to
yeah,
you.
you
You
know,
know,
don't and you know, my thing is, you know, when it comes to females, you know, like you know, and it, the younger generation now has no respect for themselves, much less anybody else. You know, so when they're disrespecting, you know, elders and women and stuff, I'm like, you know, I have to say something, man. I said, whether I get jumped or not, you know, it is what it is. But I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna tell them, look, dude, you know, like if you can't respect somebody else, you know, just because they're female or just because they're older and this and that, just because you're young, guess what? You're gonna get their age. You know, you're gonna go down that street. You're gonna have little punks that are gonna do the same thing to you, and it's a thing called karma.
oh yeah,
Yeah, you and your buddies might laugh about it right now, and you might think you're Billy Badass and stuff like that, but the day's gonna come, and it will. It's gonna come back around, and it ain't gonna be pretty, dude, because you're gonna get it at least 3 times, if not 10 times worse than what you're doing to that person right now. So think about that, man, for the rest of your life. The way that you treat people, it's gonna come back to you.
mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, that's the beauty about the military. Also, is just, I mean, everybody holds each other accountable. Nobody puts up with other people's bullshit when you're in the military. I mean, there's definitely fights I would break out, and it's because hey, it's different. You know, this isn't freaking at back in your hometown. Now this is like real life shit now. So if you're going to be a problem, and to an entire group of people that are getting together, something's going to happen. You know, and military, I'm sure, because I was never like an asshole when I was in the military. I was just having a blast, but it was still humbling. It's a very humbling experience. I mean, I've grew up pretty by the book. I mean, yes sir, yes ma'am type of childhood for myself, but it's humbling going in the military. And I encourage it for a lot of people. Uh, and I'm happy I did it, you know, and I think it translates into the civilian world so much. It helps you in the civilian world make friends better. I mean, I've had quite a bit of success outside of the military just because it's easier for me to communicate with even people that weren't in the military. I show respect where I need to show respect. I work my ass off. I don't expect things to be given. And I think that's kind of like a societal thing right now, or more common now than ever, is where people expect things to be given to them just because, hey, I did the work. How come I didn't get this? Well, sometimes that's life, you know. Just because you work your ass off doesn't mean you're going to get something necessarily. It means maybe you got to
and
work a
and
little bit harder.
and
Be
and
patient.
that's the and that's what's wrong with the mentality of everybody gets a participation trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, motherfucker, if you didn't fucking win, you don't get shit.
Yep.
That's the way it is in real life. You know, um, you didn't get that promotion. Guess what? Leave the company, go somewhere else that's going to appreciate you. You know, if not, work harder and move up within the company. You know, if the guy that got the promotion, did you dirty and stole the job from, it's going to come back around because guess what? Now the dude has to do the work himself. What's
Yep.
he going to do then? Now he can't take your glory because everybody's going to know whose work it is. It's going to come back and bite him in the ass and stuff like that, or hurt in the ass.
That's how
So
that's how I even feel with the whole free college thing that's been talked about like crazy lately. It's like I'm not for free college for people. I know, like I had free college, but it's like I had to give up something to get it. It's
yeah, you had to do 4 years of your life. You
yeah,
know,
and I
these
like I've
these
told people,
these fucking kids, like mom and dad has always told them, yes, 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 and as soon as somebody tells them no, oh god, it's the end of the fucking world.
yeah,
And guess what? Tough shit.
yeah,
You know,
and I
like
think and I think it'd be a slap in the face too if that ever does come to pass. I think it'd be a slap in the face because I that's not the reason why I joined the military, but I know people that have joined to get free college. I think that's a slap in the face to those folks who realized, hey, if I want to go to college, I can't financially do it on my own, or I want to take student loans, so I'm going to sign up. I'm going to do it the longer way to get there, but I'm going to do it. And then to do it, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, everybody gets to go to college for free. That's such a slap in the face to somebody who joined the military knowing that they're going to go to college, and that's why they were doing it. So they gave up something to achieve their
that's
ultimate goal.
I'll be honest, that's why I joined the military because I'm like, that's because my dad wasn't going to pay for college.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, no, that's your life. That's your struggle that you have to go through. Like, why am I going to pay for 4 years of college? When, you know, I could have been one of those guys that fucks it off and have dad pay for everything and stuff like that. My dad's like, no, you want something, you go get it. My daughter did it. I did the same thing to my daughter. Once she got pregnant, I said, "Fuck your college." I took her college fund. I went and bought a fucking truck and shit. Because she pissed me off so bad. But dude, she went and she put on her big girl panties on, and she fucking went and kicked ass and shit, man. And to me, like she's one of the most influential people. One of my motivators is my daughter because dude, getting pregnant at 16 and just kicking ass and taking names and doing what she's done and stuff, it's like, not many young females are willing to do that, you
Yeah.
know, and then put herself through school, having two kids, working a full-time job, like that's a whole lot, dude. And I think about that and I'm like, fuck, I thought I had it rough running, six restaurants and shit like that. Like, she still had to go to work and come home and cook dinner and bathe the kids and put them to sleep and get them ready for the next day and take care of her husband and all that kind of shit. And I'm like, that's a lot, dude. That's a
Yeah.
lot to ask for.
There, when I was in, I ended up graduating from Long Beach State, so that's where I went after community college. And there was a woman that was in one of my classes, one of my history classes, kind of in that same predicament. If I remember it, she said she was working two jobs, she had a kid, and she was living on her own, single mom, and going to college at a university. So I was like, man, that is. I remember sitting there in the class. I'm like, damn, I'm over here complaining about stupid shit. I'm like, damn, I'm married. I don't have kids yet, but it's like we don't really got responsibility besides ourselves. And it's like, Jesus Christ, this girl's over here freaking. She is putting work in. Like she's going to school full time, two jobs, and a kid. That that's the most impressive story I've like your daughters I've heard because it's usually vastly. It's usually the opposite end of that. You hear those stories, and they, whatever happens, they end up living in government housing or living off food stamps and can't ever get out of there. Live in the projects, whatever it is.
And it's like she says too, man. Like, the same friends she had in high school. Like they 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 haven't been successful. They've hooked up with 2, 3 baby daddies and stuff like that. It's like, Dad, I couldn't do it. Like, there's no way I could hang out with them girls and stuff. Like, I mean, my granddaughter made her grow up real quick. You know, and shit, my granddaughter's a freshman in high school, dude. That to me, that just blows my mind. I'm like, dude, she was like this big just a few years ago and stuff, and now she's 14 years old, man. Like, she'll be graduating high school in 4 years. I'm like, that's when I know, that's when you're getting old. It's when your granddaughter's in high school, man. And, once she graduates high school, I don't even know what to do, man. I don't even know. So
Yeah,
next year she'll be doing her quinceañera too.
it definitely goes by fast. I mean, I'm still young, obviously, 33. But damn it, like I was talking to my wife, God, where were we the other day? I was telling her, I was like, where the fuck did our 20s go? I was like, I don't remember 20s. Like, where that happened with that? It's like once you have kids,
As soon as you had kids, dude, them 20s disappeared real quick.
yeah, it's like, where the hell did those go? I don't remember anything from those years. I was like, all I remember is from 30 to now or 29 from to now. Like, what the hell? Like, it's almost like you don't remember life before, and it just like a new chapter definitely starts. It's a whole new book, actually. It's like, damn, that first one's closed, and now you're on to volume 2. And
Exactly.
it goes by super quick. I mean, yeah, our daughter just turned 1 today, and then our son's turning 4 in 10 days, and it's like, holy shit, man! Like, this sucks. And my dad always gave me crap because the same thing. He's like, "Oh, you're not old." He's like, "You don't even know yet." He's like, "Believe me." He's like, it's weird having a
And
33
your
year old.
and your dad's probably my age.
Yeah, he's I think in his early 60s now.
Oh no, I'm not no
I think.
60. Fuck that.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Fuck. 'Cause I've seen that with my dad. My dad's always been really athletic and played sports, and he still thinks he could play basketball, and it just cracks me up because I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, you're solid gray, kind of hobbling. I don't know if you could do it. You might think you can, but those
Hey
those
man,
years
that's
are gone.
that's why I switched over to golf and riding bikes, dude. It's a lot easier that way. I can't even imagine playing basketball now. Like, even when my youngest son, when he was a freshman in high school, he was I could still beat him. Now he could probably beat me now.
Oh yeah.
So I don't even try to play him in basketball, man, because I don't want him to embarrass me and stuff.
See, I still play basketball, kind of like you were saying for riding bikes. For some of the folks you've talked to, basketball's always been like that for me. Like the other day, I went and played. I just by myself. I just went and shot around. But it's one of those things where it just like it's a mind cleanser. Like because everything that all the stress of life kind of just dissipates for a little bit for 30 minutes to an hour just shooting around.
Oh yeah,
Um, it's like that's why I love it. That's I play basketball. I feel like I always will because it's got me through some mental obstacles. But yeah, I beat my dad once. Thinking about talking about basketball, I beat him one time. I think I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school. He'll say that he let me win. I remember I beat him, and he was walking in the house. He's like, "Oh, I let you win," and it's like one of those things. Like, did he let me win? Or did I actually beat him? And my wife has told me, she's like, oh, he did that perfectly because if you actually did really beat him, you'll never know. It's like, shit, I'll never get the real answer. I don't know if I ever really beat him or not.
dude. I'm gonna answer that question for you. Guess what the answer is?
I beat him.
No, he let you win, dude.
Oh, man.
Because I did that to my son. Because if not, he'll quit and he won't want to play no more.
I hope there's a hope. or whenever this day comes when he's really old, hopefully he lives a super long life, and he's like, his last words are, he's like, I actually lost for real. I'll be like, okay. I'm like, thank you. Now that I'm like 70 years old, also, thank you for telling me that. Thank you. Now I can die happy.
Yeah, no, man, he let you win, dude.
Oh,
Yeah, a good dad is gonna let you win. A dickhead dad, he's gonna beat you every time. He don't care. He don't care if you get mad and quit and all that other stuff. Like
well, see
I would let my kids win every once in a while because, as a kid, you beat your dad. That like, dude, that's an accomplishment.
it is.
You
That's
know
no small task. That's like your first major obstacle in life is beating
exactly,
your dad at
and,
something.
and that's a confidence builder right there for you.
Hmm.
You know, like, oh shit, I beat my dad. Whether like my son, he runs track, so of course he's gonna beat me every time. So I'm not even gonna try. I'm like, dude, you're fast. You got that on me and stuff. But let's go play some golf. I got you. Yeah,
That's how I have an older brother, and he talking about being like a dick when it came to playing sports. Like he's not that good at basketball, but he's always been bigger than me. He's 6 years older than me, so like when we play, he would just like pack it right back in my face. He would talk shit to me when I was like 10 years old. He's 16. He's just talking shit to me the whole time.
that's what little
But
brothers are for,
I
dude. I had two little brothers.
see he
You know,
forgets this. So there was a day when we were playing across the street at our neighbor's house, and I was just crossing him up like crazy. And he had to go home because he had blisters on his feet. He doesn't remember that, but I did beat him. I don't know if he'll listen to this episode, but I beat him, and
trust,
he says I
trust
never
me,
did.
he remembers that. He just is gonna act like he doesn't.
So I got older. I was probably like 14, so he was like 20. 20, you've already stopped growing. At 14, I was getting close to 6 feet or about 6 feet tall. So I was like, we're almost even playing field by that point. So I was, yeah, I sent him home with his shoes melting. So I was like, hey, I remember that story, that moment in time has, he'll never remember it, or, he'll say he doesn't, but, that's what's funny. What sports and stuff like that, and being competitive, it's it's a lifesaver, man. It really is,
It,
having
it,
something like
it's,
that to.
it's good for you, man. And see, that's the thing, man. Like, I know sports, you know, it's almost like the military. It's team building. The camaraderie. You know, all that kind of stuff. Like that's why it's so important. And I think it's so important for kids to at least play one sport. Be good. Try to be good at it. But number one, always, always, always have fun.
Yeah.
So like what I do with our golf lessons and stuff like that. So we give free golf lessons to veterans, and once they get through the 6 classes, we'll take them out to do like a little miniature tournament and stuff, and it's just for fun, bragging rights more than anything. But a lot of times, a lot of these guys, they're still not going to be good after 6. So on the scorecard, I'll put 3 letters on that scorecard, you know, and all it is FUN. We don't keep score. The thing is, you have to have fun because if you're going out there thinking you're going to be the next Tiger Woods or Bobby Watson or Shambro or whoever John Daly, it's not going to happen, dude. With 6 lessons, sorry, I've been playing 35 plus years, and I still suck.
Hmm.
But it's not about being good. It's about just having fun and being out there and stuff, being outdoors, you know. And once these guys see that it's just about fun, like all of a sudden, I can see like they loosen up. They have a whole lot more fun, because it's not about keeping score. It's about having fun. And that's what's so important is, if you're not having fun, it's not going to be worthwhile,
Yeah.
you know? I learned that from when I was with another organization. Um, I was little over 400 pounds. You know, I would go hiking with these guys. I would ride bike with these guys. But because I was so big, they would always leave me behind. And I'm like, well, what's the point of me coming out if I'm just going to be riding bike by myself or hiking by myself? This ain't no fun. And once I started doing, the bike rides and all that stuff, the main thing with our bike rides is we only go as fast as the slowest person, because the whole point is to build camaraderie, to, get to know one another and stuff like that. Well, we'll have some veterans show up and think, we're racing. I'm like, if you guys want to race, go on ahead, dude. Go for it. Like, I'm not going to hold you back and this and that, but I'm letting you know right now, I'm only going as fast as the slowest person because, I've been there, done that, you know, and it's not fun when you're the big dude or the big girl and nobody wants to ride with you because everybody's too busy, hauling ass. And my thing is, it's and that's how you build the team building. That's how you build, the what's it called, dude? Not the
Mhm.
camaraderie, but like the trust,
Oh, yeah.
you know, the trust with one another, and that's how people open up. Is like people pay attention to that, especially somebody that doesn't have a lot of self confidence, that keeps quiet to themselves and stuff. Because there's been a few veterans where they'll come out and they're quiet as a mouse, they don't say nothing, but after that third or fourth bike ride and stuff, they're a chatterbox, dude. They won't shut the fuck up. But that's a good thing because
And
now they're they're not isolated. They're not in their little shell, in their little box. Now they have the confidence to talk about anything, to let you know what's going on with them and stuff like that. And that's the way you can help veterans, is by breaking down those barriers. It might take 6 weeks. It might take 6 months. It might take a year to get somebody out, because I had an army veteran, combat veteran, that, like, he kept to himself, you know. Um, he would follow us on Facebook and stuff like that, but I know he's always be liking our stuff. So I private messaged him. I said, hey, man, would you like to come out and ride bike with us? I said, I got a couple extra bikes. You can use one. He goes, no, I got a bike. I got my own bike and this and that stuff. So I said, well, Do you need it tuned up? Is it good to go? He goes, well, it could use some oil. It could use some inner tubes. I said, well, where do you live? And I'll go pick it up and take it to the bike shop that maintenance our bikes and stuff. And he gave me the address. I went to go pick it up. Dude, literally, it was really really bad. Yeah, I mean, this bike was old.
hmm
So I called him up. I said, "Hey, man, the bike shop said that this bike is, it's not worth dumping, $100 into it and stuff, but they got a bike that they could donate to you, man." And he goes, "Well, that I've had that bike for 30 something years, this and that." I said, "Yeah, but if you want, I can pick you up. I can bring you down to check out this bike." And he goes, "Okay." So I told him, I said, "Hey, let me go pick him up. I'll be right back." So these fuckers went and got a brand new, like, $2,000 bike,
Damn.
took the seat off the other bike and put it on the new bike, right? And literally they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, this is the same bike. We just painted it and this." I go, "You guys, you motherfuckers, then," But the dude was like, literally started crying, dude. You know what he said? He said he
Okay.
never ever in his whole life, because he had two brothers and sisters, two each, two brothers, two sisters. He said he never, ever, ever had a brand new bike ever in his whole life. He goes, that was the first time he'd ever had a brand new bike, ever. And I've had that. happened like 4 or 5 occasions and stuff where like, because like a female veteran, she never had a new bike, because she's always had kids. She always had brothers and sisters to take care of and stuff like that, where she never could go ride a bike, even if she wanted to. She's too busy
Mhm.
taking care of her brothers and sisters and stuff like that. Like, you know, and and to me that just blows me away. Is like how sometimes some of us, take it for granted how blessed we are to like be able to afford new bikes, or have a nice bike, or have somebody give us a really really nice bike.
Yeah.
Sometimes you take it for granted and realize that, yeah, uh you might have a super nice bike, but some of these guys can't even afford one. So that was huge during COVID, that we started these bike rides around Tempe Town Lake. It's a man-made lake, and we started out slow. We had two, three, five veterans show up and stuff like that. But as COVID got longer and longer and longer, more vets would come out. Hey man, do you have any more? Do you have a bike I could borrow and this and that? Well, after they rode with us, and I would pay attention to see if the bike would fit them, because not all bikes fit everybody. You got to
Yeah.
get measured and all that stuff. So if I lend them a bike, pretty much it was going to be a bike that I was going to donate to them. But I'd tell them, hey, you got to come out to like 6 rides, and then we need your DD 214 and stuff, and we'll see what we can do. Well, the whole time they're riding the bike, I'm gonna give them and stuff. So the 6th ride, when they give me their DD 214, I'm like, "Here's your bike," and they're like, "Well, if you'd have told me that from the get go, this and that and stuff," and I'm like, "Well, the thing is, man, we got to see if you're gonna be committed to it,
Yeah.
because the whole point is for you to use it, not just ride once and leave it in your garage. That's not the point. The whole point is for you to get outside and not be isolated and stuff like that, and keep you from depression and keep you from all these crazy thoughts and stuff like that. And they're like, you know what, Road, you're right, you're right. So I would hold them accountable and stuff and tell them, like, if you miss more than 2 or 3 rides, dude, you have to donate the bike back so we can give it to a veteran that's actually going to use it, because the whole point of the bikes is for them to be used.
Hmm.
Now if you needed to get to work, if you needed to get to school, I can give you a bike for that purpose, also. But don't make the commitment that you're going to come ride with us on Saturday morning when you actually needed to go to school or go to work. I said I got a different fund for that, and we
Hmm.
can get that for you. So, you know, I've been blessed to have Microsoft and Google as partners and stuff, where we've been able to donate tablets and laptops and Chromebooks, because the whole point is we want you guys to be successful. We want you guys to, you know, see the light at the end of the tunnel, because you might have to sacrifice this right now, but once you get done with school and this and that, it's going to be worth it. Trust me, it's going to be worth it, but you got to put in the work, you know, and a lot of times with this generation, they don't want to sacrifice. They don't want to put in the work, man. They expect this. They expect that handout. And I'm not here for a handout to give you a handout. I'm here to give you a hand up,
Yeah.
and if you can't understand that, then don't request anything from me, because I'm not going to give it to you. And that's the way it is. And a lot of guys, they're like, some of the other guys, other veterans, are like, holy shit, nobody's talked to me like that before. Like, but somebody has to, man. Somebody has to hold these guys accountable and stuff.
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
what it also sounds like, the purpose of the bike ride's not necessarily just to ride bikes. I mean, it's like you said, you had that Army veteran who told you, "Are you listening to the birds? Feeling the breeze?" It's not just a bike ride. It's actually
It's
like a
therapy, dude.
yeah, it's a
It's
release.
therapy. You're chopping it up with other veterans. You know, you're building that camaraderie. You're feeling you're getting somebody out of their shell. And
Hmm.
while you're writing, like we had one female veteran that showed up. She actually worked at the VA, and she was telling us, "Oh, well, if you don't know, you can do this, or you can go there for this and this and that." Dude, she was telling us all the ins and outs that I didn't even know, and I'm like, "This is what I'm talking about."
All
Because
the
now we have
secrets.
15 other veterans here that can let other veterans know. Because the thing is, you know, knowledge is power.
Hmm.
And the more you know, the more you can help people out, you know, because you don't want to know everything and keep it to yourself. What's the point of that? How are you helping other veterans doing that? Like, but that's the way some of these nonprofits work, especially the super big ones. I notice is like, oh, these are our vets and stuff. We're not good. I'm like, no, dude, it's not like that. It shouldn't be like that. You do what you do. I do what I do. I'm not trying to invent the wheel. I don't have the budget what that you do to do what you do. Like, you get millions of dollars. I don't. I have to scratch and claw and do what I got to do to get the little bit of money I get to help these guys. You have 1,000 times, if not 100,000 times more money than I do. I'm not trying to take your veteran. Are you crazy? I don't have the budget to take your veteran, even if I wanted to. Like, I do what I do because this is what I'm good at and this is what I can do to help them. Because my whole point is, once I get them, now I know who I need to send them to and connect them with, because that way they'll be that much more successful. That way they can turn around and help another veteran out. And that way it keeps on rolling, and we're helping out each other as well as the community.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, now that I'm kind of like, I've just started this podcast this year, and I think that's been one of the more refreshing things for me, talking to other veterans and get it, hear all these different stories. But also, I mean, I think of when I got out of the Navy, there wasn't really, it didn't seem like there was this type of outlet for veterans. And so I've said it plenty of times. It's amazing to see veterans really taking the ball and rolling with it. They're helping each other. We're all helping each other out in some instances, or some way any way we can do it, we're doing it. And because I think, like we've talked about when we first started talking, the VA's always had this. There's been these issues with the VA, and the veterans slip through the cracks, and you're kind of left alone. But all these like nonprofits like yours, they're amazing because it's veteran operated. It helps other veterans, and at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? It's just to, like you said, if you help one veteran, that's all that matters. Even if it's just one person, I'll say 20 people show up on that bike ride, and the next time that only one of those 20 people show up, hey, that one person, they're there. They're putting in the work. They're committed to getting whatever type of release or help that they need. They're committed to it, which is nice to see, because I don't think that really existed when I got out, even just 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. It wasn't really around. Nobody really talked about it. Veterans, I know that I didn't talk about anything that I was going through when I got out with anybody, so it's nice to see veterans open up. But even if it is to another veteran, because you got that similar, like we were talking about earlier, even if you're in a different branch, you have the similarities of, okay, we both signed up at this age, we made that leap, we've done this amount of time, we had these same kind of struggles or when we got out, and now we're here, now we're helping each other. It's a beautiful thing to hear and to see. So
Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
but, well, all right, Ro. Yeah, I'll let you go. I know you're busy, so really appreciate it.
Dude,
You coming on.
it's Friday, dude. I'm done for the week, man. I need to what's it called? Unwind or uh reload or whatever you want to call it and stuff. So yeah,
Well,
but tomorrow I got an event. Sunday I got an event. So like majority of my events I do on the weekends and stuff, especially Saturdays. Sunday I try not to do a lot of events on Sunday. To so People can go to church, spend family time, because to me that's very, very important. It's family time, because um, those and Sundays are once football season starts. It's football season, dude.
Oh yeah,
So like that's my literally Sunday's my day off, day off.
I know that
Anything,
feeling.
and Sundays are like when football season. You'll find me on the golf course on Sundays because that's my time to unwind and um, just be out there in nature, and whether it's by myself or playing with some other veterans and stuff. That's what's important to me, and that's the thing. I have to make that time,
Hmm.
because if not, you'll get burnt out real quick.
Yeah, it's
So
true. I mean, and then like you've said, holding each other accountable is the main thing. At the end of the day, um, holding up. I think that's what most veterans actually do needs to be held accountable. You get out and you start blaming other people for things. It's like there, you gotta have that real moment when you look in the mirror. You gotta kind of own it yourself. Like you can change it. You can change your circumstances. It's not the end of the world. You got to really buckle down and that's what's great about like veterans like yourself who do that, who goes out of their way and helps veterans, holds them accountable. So yeah, for anybody that just listened to this episode, go check out Valor's Veterans Community, az.org. And if you're in that area in Arizona, I mean, definitely check them out. They're always doing cool stuff. You're always posting some awesome stuff. I know you're seeing you guys do like flag ceremonies or at the one of the was it the Fiesta Bowl or something like that, and then you guys
yeah,
go to the Super
we
Bowl.
have 350 volunteers, 285, 300 are veterans. That includes National Guardsmen. We take the flag out on the field for the national anthem. So and then we have the 9/11 walk coming up. So every hour on the hour from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we have first responders and veterans carry the flag around Tempe Town Lake. And then on the other side of the walk, on the other side of the lake, they have a thing called the healing fields. So there's a flag in the ground for every victim that passed away that day. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty powerful and stuff. And then they have boots there for some of the guys, teddy bears, all kinds of stuff, man. It's somebody that's never been will be like it will hit them hard if they had somebody that they know that was there that day.
Hmm.
So it's so we this is our fourth year doing it. And literally it's one of our major events that we do every year.
That's cool. You guys do that. But
So
yeah,
you can find us on Instagram at VVC AZ Tempe. We do Facebook. So we have a Facebook group, which is just strictly for the state of Arizona, and then we have the page, which is for the whole country to see.
okay.
So
Awesome. Yeah, if I ever go back to Arizona, I've been there a few times for work and stuff. I'll swing by
well,
your guys'
make
place.
sure you come out for the Super Bowl because Super Bowl's that next year in February. It's out here.
All right. Yeah, that'd be awesome to be able to do that. I mean, now if the Vikings make it, that'd be even better.
Well,
But
I'm one of the Super Bowl host committee captains. So I get a bunch of our veterans to volunteer at the NFL Experience.
oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, so the NFL Experience is the place you want to volunteer at when if the Super Bowl's ever in your town and stuff, because that's where all the players go to sign autographs and stuff like that. So sometimes with the volunteers, we get there 2 hours before everybody else. Some of the players and their family are walking around. We you have access to the players, and once they find out you're a volunteer, oh, they'll sign, they'll take pictures with you, all kinds of stuff, man. And it's pretty awesome. So
Yeah, that's cool. I've been to my brother, my dad, and I went to the one in Minnesota when the Super Bowl was held in Minnesota because we're all Viking fans. So we went, and I mean, that was awesome. That NFL experience is freaking insane. For anybody that hasn't been, highly recommend doing it because it
Now
is so fun.
nowadays it's 10 times busier than when it used to be.
Oh, I
When the
believe
Super,
it.
when the Super Bowl was here, when I first came to the first Super Bowl Phoenix held was in Tempe, and the Cowboys and Steelers played. Um, man, that was like, I'm a Cowboys fan, so like having Cowboys and Steeler legends running around and stuff like that. I got to meet Chuck Noll. I mean, and I told the Steelers, a lot of Steeler players and Chuck Noll. I said, man, I hated you guys with a passion as a kid because I lost my lunch money for like 3 weeks and stuff because of you guys. But I have to give you guys respect and I have to shake your guys' hands for being some of the greatest teams of all time. And some of these guys were like, "Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for coming from a Cowboy fan." Because I'd be wearing my Cowboy. I had a Roger Staubach was my favorite player growing up, so I'd wear his jersey around and stuff. And they're like, "That's pretty awesome coming from a Cowboy fan and stuff." So yeah, my mom's a Vikings fan.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first tattoo, actually. I got a Viking tattoo right here. Got when I was stationed in San Diego. I freaking love them. I love them and I hate them all at the same time. They're the greatest chokers
Hey,
of all time.
I love the Vikings because you know why, right?
Why is that? Oh, the Herschel Walker trade. Yeah, it gave the Cowboys their whole team, man. My dad talks about that all the time. He's like, that was the stupidest freaking trade we ever made. He's like, they got Aikman, they got freaking Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, all these Hall of Famers, all that. I was like, oh yeah, we got Herschel Walker. I mean,
I love the Vikings and I love the Bills.
hey man, I feel bad for those Bill fans. 4 Super Bowls straight in a row to lose all 4. I've told my wife, because she's a Steelers fan. My wife's side's all Steelers fans. I was like, they wasted all their opportunities to win a Super Bowl in a row. Like, I don't think they'll ever win one. I know they got a really good team right now, but it's like nobody goes 4 years in a row. You just wasted it. You blew it all. You blew all your chances.
They were the second. To me, they're the second greatest dynasty of all time.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to 4 AFC championships in a row. Nobody. And if they only would have won one, and I don't care, they should have beat the Giants on that field goal. They should have won that game. They should have won the Redskin one. Now the Cowboy game, they were going to get crushed no matter what. So there was they were going to lose both of those. That was guaranteed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, most of my experiences with football are sad. I mean, Vikings typically choke. Like they had that miraculous catch a few years ago against the Saints.
Yeah, against the Saints.
And we were living.
Dude, I called that play too.
Oh,
I said, watch if who was it, Diggs?
Yeah,
Diggs catches that, and he gets behind that defense. It's over. And sure as shit, boom. Everybody's like, no way, you called that play. I'm like, I told you guys.
We were still living in an apartment at the time, and I went down the hall. I was like, oh man, my wife was sitting on the couch, and I was like, I gotta leave, and I was like peeking out down the hall. I could see it. And that was the only time I've ever cried happy tears. Because that shit never happens for the Vikings. Like I've seen the NFC Championship against the Falcons. That's my first memory where they shanked it.
Dude, they had a good team that year too.
Yeah, and then Brett Favre, that was on deployment. I was on deployment when that happened. My best friend from Louisiana, he's a Saints fan. When Brett Favre lost to the Saints and Drew Brees, we had put a bet on that game. Whoever lost had to get the other team's tattoo on their ass. So I got the Saints logos on one of my butt cheeks. That was my last tattoo. I know that. See, this is crazy shit. This doesn't happen in regular life. This is only shit that happens in the military. I'm telling you. This is the type of crap that happens in the military. It really does. Nobody, like, people don't believe me, and every once in a while he'll be like, "Hey, dude, can you send me a picture of your ass?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So he's like, "I gotta show like my wife or my girlfriend, whatever, my mom." I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna show your mom my ass?" But whatever. But yeah, so I lost that bet, and it's like, fuck. So I got Saints tattoo on my ass, and that one sucked. That Brett Favre game, man, that made me cry. I was on deployment, so I was bawling my eyes out. And then and then they lost to the Eagles a couple years ago, or they got smashed. They didn't just lose. The Eagles crushed them, and that's why we went to Minnesota. We bought tickets to fly to Minnesota after they beat the Saints that year. After that catch, I called my dad and my brother. We're like, "Oh fuck, we're gonna go Minnesota because the Super Bowl's in Minnesota. It's like destiny. This is fucking crazy." And of course, they get blown out, typical Viking fashion. They just get completely ran off the field. I think we scored one touchdown the whole game. It was like 30-something to 7. It was like, oh, well, fuck, okay. Well, we're still going to Minnesota. We already bought fucking plane tickets and booked the hotel. So, like, great. Cold as fuck, too. Like -4 degrees.
Dude,
All that pain and suffering.
You will never, ever, 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 ever see me move anywhere north of Phoenix ever. Said if I want to see snow, I'll go up to Flagstaff and spend an hour or two in snow and come back down.
See,
I
like cold weather.
grew up in Illinois.
Oh,
so the winter of '79 was what did it for me, because my mom literally, there was 6 feet of snow that winter, and I had to shovel the snow to get to the car so my mom could go drop us off at the bus stop. And I'm like, the first chance I get to get the fuck out of here, I'm doing it, man, because I'm not shoveling shit. And then like 2 years later, my dad gets the very first snow blower that you put in gas and you can push it. I was like, yes, I don't have to fucking shovel this bullshit anymore and stuff, So
yeah, see, I like cold weather. I'm a cold weather person typically, but yeah, my boot camp was in Great Lakes, and it was in February up there in Chicago. And I was like, holy fuck, this is totally different.
That wind is like a knife, dude.
It is. Like in boot camp, so it was snowing, so you're all geared up. They had us like all the face shit on, so like the one thing that exposes your eyes. I don't know how, but man, that snow cuts through like every piece of clothing you have. Because it's like at an angle and it's windy, so like it stings a little bit when it hits your face. It's just screw that. And then so we went to Minnesota. We're watching the news, and one day it was like 8 degrees, and the next day it was -4. We're like, what's the difference between 8 degrees and -4? I know there's obviously a number difference, but that feels exactly the same. 8 degrees and -4 degrees is the same. It's the same feeling. It hurts. That's even when it's not snowing, it hurts. It's just so cold. It just hurts your bones. Like I don't know how people live out there. I like cold weather, but damn. Negative. I mean, I think the lowest I feel like 30.
That's not regular cold. That's freezing cold. Now screw that.
Yeah, like that's death cold. Like,
oh yeah,
you'll walk outside and not realize your fingers fell off because it's so cold.
You go out there more than 30 minutes, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we went from our hotel room, we went to a Wendy's and we were walking back. We had taken a car there and we walked back from Wendy's. And my dad had the drinks and my brother had something else. They were freezing and I grabbed the burgers. I was like, oh man, I feel good. I had that thing nestled up next to me. My dad's like, I can't feel my hands. I was like, I feel good. I'm nice and toasty. I was carrying those burgers and fries close to the chest. That's oh man. Yeah, that's a different ball game right there. And I've been in some cold places, but fudge, man, that
better you than me. That's all I know.
But see, then there's a polar opposite. I don't like 100 and plus degree weather. I'm like a good beach guy. I like 60, 70 degrees. That's my perfect spot.
Right now it's monsoon season, so it's humid as fuck, dude. So it'll be cool 104, but with the humidity, it's like 124 with humidity. So like whether you're in the shade or not, you're gonna feel the humidity, and it is sticky as heck.
See, I don't like that
It
stuff.
sucks, dude, because you go outside for 2-3 minutes and you got to take a shower as soon as you come back in.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, we don't get too. It doesn't get too muggy out here where we're at, but yeah, it's been like in the hundreds, and like even just washing the car yesterday, I was like, all right, I need like to take like a
Oh, you got to
30-minute
do that
shower.
early in the morning, man.
Well, I did it kind of late in the evening, but it's still like 90 degrees outside. It's like, what
No, you got to do it early in the morning. That's when it's usually cool. The coolest part of the day is in the morning. If you do, even at night, like out here, even at night, man, like till 1, 2, 3 in the morning, it's still, some nights 100, 105. You know, it's still hot even at night. So I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, all right, Rope. I'll let you go, brother.
All right, man.
You take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and everything. So.
Oh yeah, we'll be in touch. I'll hit you up, man, because I need to send you out a T-shirt.
All right. Yeah, appreciate it.
You got it.
All right. You have a good one.
Okay, man. You too.